Greetings friends, hope you're having a good week so far. Well, today we're going to continue our look at Game of Thrones Season 1 with Cripples, Bastards, and Broken Things. So, here we go. Starting off at King's Landing, Lord Eddard Stark begins quietly inquiring into the death of Jon Arryn, the previous Hand of the King, who had long served as the kingdom's chief administrative nobleman. Questioning Grand Maester Pycelle, who tended Jon Arryn in his final days, Stark learns that Arryn's last words were, "The seed is strong," and that he was reading a book titled The Lineages and Histories of the Great Houses of the Seven Kingdoms. Helped by Peter Littlefinger Baelish and his native informers, Eddard follows up on two more clues regarding the last days of his predecessor. He questions a smith's apprentice whom Jon Arryn had visited in his last days, and, due to his resemblance to King Robert, Stark deduces that the boy is the king's bastard. Dun dun dun! Eddard also plans to question Jon Arryn's former squire, but the recently knighted young man is killed while jousting at the tournament held in Eddard's honor. Uh-oh. The knight responsible for his untimely end is Sir Gregor Clegane, also known as the Mountain, due to his towering size. He is a Lannister bannerman and is the older brother of the Hound, Sandor Clegane. Baelish tells Sansa the secret of the Clegane brothers. As children, Gregor brutally burned his brother's face, thus explaining the Hound's scars. Yeesh. Meanwhile, in Vastil Thrak, Khal Drogo's Khalasar arrives at the city of Vastil Thrak. Viserys Targaryen impatiently waits for the army Drogo agreed to lend him, the bride price offered for his sister Daenerys, to reconquer the Seven Kingdoms. When Viserys misinterprets Dany's invitation to dinner as an order, he becomes angry and strikes her. Oh, you shouldn't have done that. For the first time, Daenerys fights back, hitting her son and brother and promising that if he raises a hand against her again, his hands will be cut off. Later, the banished knight Jorah Mormont tells her that Viserys will not be a good leader for the invasion of Westeros, and, despite what Viserys believes, the people of the Seven Kingdoms do not care who rules them as long as they are ruled well. Daenerys agrees that Viserys cannot conquer the Seven Kingdoms even if Khal Drogo gave him an entire army. Yeah, let's hope that, hopefully when the series is over, maybe Daenerys will do a lot better, will be much better than the person who's currently sitting on the Iron Throne. Yeah, anyway. Meanwhile, at the Wall, the Night Watch receives Samwell Tarly, a fat, fearful, and clumsy recruit who rapidly becomes the focus of bullying by Master-at-Arms Sir Alliser Thorne. Sam later explains to Jon that his father forced him to take the black and forsake his inheritance because he considered Sam unworthy, threatening to kill Sam and pass his death off as a hunting accident if he refused. Bastard. Asshole. Jon Snow defends Sam and convinces the rest of the recruits not to harm him, much to Thorne's rage. Thorne defends his treatment as essential, since life north of the Wall is very harsh, especially during winter, warning Jon and Sam to toughen up or they will have no chance of survival. Meanwhile, in the north, Tyrion stops at Winterfell as he is returning to King's Landing after his visit to the Wall. He gets a cold welcome from Robb Stark, acting Lord of Winterfell in his father Eddard's absence. Robb suspects the Lannisters are behind his younger brother Bran's fall and the subsequent assassination attempt. Despite the cold reception, Tyrion shows the now crippled Bran an act of kindness by giving him blueprints for a saddle that will allow him to ride again despite his paralysis. Aw, isn't that nice? Before he leaves Winterfell, Tyrion has a talk with the young Greyjoy, a ward of House Stark, and mocks him regarding how the Greyjoys and their land, the Iron Islands, attempted a failed rebellion against King Robert, calling Theon a hostage to the Stark family. I wonder what the series would have been like if the Greyjoys had actually, succeeded in the rebellion against King Robert. I wonder what the show would have been like. Oh well. Finally, at the end of the crossroads, farther south, Tyrion and his small retinue stop to spend the night at the end of the crossroads. There he recognizes Lady Catelyn Stark in disguise. With her identity revealed, she requests help from her father's bannermen present at the inn to seize Tyrion to face trial for Bran's attempted murder. And yeah, that's pretty much everything that went on in this episode. So yeah, anyway, let's look at some production notes here. Cripples, Bastards, and Broken Things is the first episode of the series that was not written by the show's creators and executive producers David Benioff and D.B. Weiss. The script is authored by writer Brian Cogman based on George R. R. Martin's original work. Cogman worked on the Game of Thrones pilot as the writing assistant and was contracted for the full series as script editor and the unofficial keeper of the mythos for the show. Entrusted with the task of writing the series Bible outlining character and background information and making sure that the world building remained consistent. In this capacity, he was approached by Benioff and Weiss, who asked him to write a treatment for the 4th episode. Believing it was only an exercise that would be completely rewritten by another professional writer, he completed the script that ended up being episode 4. Nice! The chapters of the book covered in this episode are Bran 4, less the first few pages that were included in the previous episode, Eddard 5, Jon 4, Eddard 6, Catelyn 5, Sansa 2, Daenerys 4, chapters 25 through 30 and 37. Among the scenes created for the show, there are the conversations between Theon and Tyrion, Sansa and Septa Mordane, Dorea and Viserys, Jory Castle and Jaime, Jon and Samwell, and Eddard Stark and Cersei. The character Alliser Thorne is given some more depth by justifying his harshness toward the new recruits. A more subdued version of Bran's dream is included. Nice. During the bathtub scene in which Viserys recalls the old Targaryen dragons, he lists names taken from the books, Balerion, Meraxes, and Vhagar, and others invented for the show. Among them, a dragon called Vermithrax is mentioned, which is an homage to Vermithrax pejorative from the 1981 film Dragon Slayer. Author George R. R. Martin once ranked the film the 5th best fantasy movie of all time, called Vermithrax, quote, the best dragon ever put on film, end quote, and the one with the, quote, coolest dragon name as well, end quote. Yeah, I don't mind agreeing with him on that. This episode introduces the character Samwell Tarly, a new recruit of the Night's Watch and a self-described coward. John Bradley was cast in the part, the actor's first professional appearance after graduating from the Manchester Metropolitan School of Theatre. Cool. The scene used in auditions belonged to Cripples, Bastards, and Broken Things, where Sam explained to John how his father forced him to take the black. According to author and executive producer George R. R. Martin, Bradley delivered, quote, a heartbreaking performance. Yep, I don't agree with that. Australian actor Conan Stevens, whose official website lists his height as 214 centimeters, or 7 feet and a quarter inches, first appears as the gigantic knight Gregor Clegane, known as the Mountain. Stevens had sought to join the production since HBO started developing Game of Thrones. Since the character Gregor Clegane, the role he believed he was most fitted for, did not appear on the pilot, he auditioned for the role of Khal Drogo instead in hopes of getting noticed by the casting team. Although that role went to Jason Momoa, Stevens was chosen for the part of Gregor. Other recurring roles making their first appearance in the episode include Dominic Carter as commander of the City Watch, Janos Slynt, Jerome Flynn as the mercenary or sellsword, Bronn, and Joe Dempsey as the smith's apprentice, Gendry. The character of Gendry was made older for the series than he appears in the books. I wonder why. The Book of Lineages Ned receives from Pycelle was prepared by Brian Cogman, who in addition to writing episode 4 also served as the show's lore master and authored the historical background content included in the first season's DVD and Blu-ray release. Nice. Cogman wrote 2 pages worth of text detailing the lineage of 4 noble houses. The text concerning House Umber was shown in Cripples, Bastards, and Broken Things, and the Baratheon text appears in episode 6, A Golden Crown. Cogman also wrote text for the houses of Targaryen and Royce, but the corresponding scenes were removed from the final script for episode 4. Aww. Cogman said that he drew on the novels in the fan-created website Wiki of Ice and Fire for reference, and invented what could not be sourced, including even some internet fan message board names as in-jokes. Nice. The episode was shot at Belfast studio, the Paint Hall, including the interior shots of King's Landing, and on location throughout Northern Ireland. The scenes taking place at the grounds of Castle Black continued to be filmed at the large exterior set built in the abandoned quarry of Mangaramorn. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that wrong or what, but anyway. The grounds of the ruined Shane's Castle were used as the location of the tournament, and the area known as the Sandy Brae, at the foot of the Moor Mountains, was used for the entrance to Vasto Thrak. Much of this episode was filmed early in the production, An Eddard and Arya scene from this episode was filmed on the very first day of shooting. Nice. So overall, this is a pretty interesting episode, and it does develop a few of the characters a bit more, and I really like that. So overall, I give Cripples, Bastards, and Broken Things 4 Iron Thrones out of 5. Well, join me next week as we take a look at The Wolf and the Lion. Should be pretty interesting. So until then, in the words of House Stark, winter is coming.